Welcome to Redbeard Radio. I'm Brian Keith, and today we have Lisa Catto back on the show. She was here for episode 115 on designing and implementing your ideal customer journey. And today we are talking about AI and how that impacts all of your marketing and your customer journey. Lisa, welcome back to the show.
Well, hello from the United Kingdom.
Now, I started telling a story before we hit record, and I used to live in the United Kingdom in Wales. And I was there for a school year, and I was one of those Americans who came over and didn't spend any time around other Americans. I saw other Americans who loved to hang out with the other Americans, which I thought was the stupidest thing in the world. Why have you gone a third of the way around the world to hang out with people you could have hung out with at home? Well, so the second semester showed up, second term, and I thought, I'm going to go see what the Americans are like that I never actually interact with. And I went to the dining hall to have breakfast with all the people that were there just for one term. So they had all just arrived and they're having breakfast. And I'm there eating quietly at the table with all these Americans. And they don't know who I am. And I'm just listening to them, listening to how they speak. They're sort of aggravating, to be honest. And at one point, one of them, and we're chatting a little bit, I'm talking a little bit. At one point, one of them says to me, "So, are you from around here?" And I assumed they were joking, obviously. They were not joking. That their perspective, based on how much my accent had changed, was that I was actually a local because I had adopted what was in my local environment enough that Americans, who are particularly bad at telling accents because our country is so huge, that they just didn't have any concept of that. And this story somehow feels like the right intro to the world of AI, where now, for very affordable, we can synthesize our voices, we can make custom avatar videos of ourselves. We can even have AI scrape our past content and write new content as us and create videos of us speaking our new content as if it were live. This is a crazy world. We're recording this May 15th of 2023. Every week, something new shows up. So by the time this episode goes live in a month or three, it might be quaint because everything's just changing so fast. But I'd love to hear, Lisa, what are you doing with all these ways that we can show up in the world?
Well, there's all sorts of tools. I think it's since OpenAI kind of made AI much more accessible and visible to people, there's been a tsunami of people dipping their toe in and looking to create new and interesting ways to be bigger, be larger, do more. And it's completely open to abuse as well, let's face it. But like anything, if you use it badly, and I'm sure that there will be regulations that come in to protect us all from that. So one thing we've been doing is our clients that do quite a lot of content, we've been offering an audio of a synthesized version of that, of their voice, that is then reading the blog or reading the newsletter, so you can tap to listen. So that's been quite fun. There is obviously the rewriting of content and the creation of social media content, which has speeded up a lot. There's tools that can gauge the response in your reviews and see what customers' sentiments are. There's obviously all the ones around being able to get short form video content out of long form video content, of like describe what a great image would be for this blog or for this social post. You know, it's making stuff much more accessible, but. And this is the thing, right? And being in automation for as long as I've been in automation and you've been in automation, is one of the great objections that we have is I don't want to be robotic.
Yeah.
I always speak to the fact that automation clears the space to build human relationships. And I would never have an AI chatbot, which are becoming more and more advanced with the, with the learning tools now, pretend to be a human. And I think that's where we need to be really cautious, is be really visible when this is a real person and when this is not.
Well, so tell me this, Lisa, what's the difference between a creator speaking as themselves on social media versus having a staff person speak as the creator versus have the staff person speak as themselves, but obviously a staff person, versus a staff person using AI tools to create responses based on the founder's body of work and responding as the founder, but with human review? There's so many different ways to go do this. And if some big celebrity ever comments on your post, if you're savvy at all, you know it's not them commenting, it's their team in some fashion.
100%. In the same way is if you have a copywriter write your emails and your landing pages for you, it's just it's not artificial intelligence, it's human intelligence, mimicking and pretending or, extrapolating what you would say because you don't have. I have a company that works with me on my blogs. They interview me. If you go and read my blogs, if you ever listen to me on a podcast, you'll hear my actual voice and what I think and how I speak. And if you go to my website and you read my blogs, they're written, as we say, in my voice, but I'm actually interviewed by my content creation company, who then go away and take the recording of what I said and work it up into blog copy and email copy and social media copy that works for that format. But it's all in my voice, but it's a human doing it, not artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So, we've been doing it. I had a very long conversation with my mother around the machine learning around this and how many jobs and people are going to be put out of jobs. But then there's also the argument of the fact of how many new jobs are going to be created as a result of this as people pivot and have new and interesting ways to learn to do things. Our whole evolution as a species, from the Industrial Revolution of creating machines of one form or another to be labor-saving devices or do things more efficiently or faster or better than a human can in some instances. This is just the next step in evolution, and it is important to put it into context as such. So if I can get my word out there further, the difference is actually, just looping back to actually what you said, is there's no real empathy. There is pretend empathy. There are AI tools now that can learn how an individual would respond to a question, but ultimately the humanness, the spontaneity, the reactiveness to a specific situation or somebody's voice or environment is going to be lost because AI is not human and it will never replace humans. It can mimic it, but it can only learn. It can't be spontaneous and responsive in the true sense of the word as a human would be.
If you're right with this being the next stage of our evolution as a species, how much time should the average six-figure business owner be spending on reading about / using these new tools? It seems like there's new tools showing up all the time and that it could be a full-time job just to try to pay attention to what's new. So how do you discern what to focus on, what to ignore, or what to wait till later to think about?
I think it's a per business by per business. It's what are the points of failure in your business? How can your business be enhanced? Where is your business looking to grow and evolve and diversify or pivot? So is this going to be bigger than the internet? What did we all do when the internet came? Because the internet was around for years before it got leveraged by the masses. But when it did become accessible and start getting leveraged, I'm going to say around the mid-90s, I think we were probably still in dial-up modems then. We were leveraging it when we were in dial-up modems before we even came into online delivery. So what did we do then? We dipped our toe in the water. We got email addresses. We started putting websites up. But then the rules of play changed because what you could do with websites 25, 30 years ago and what you can do with websites now with the rules, regulations, and algorithms is very, very different. I'd also put in there that we've been using AI in one form or another for much longer than people realize or had realized up until the big kerfuffle that's been going on in media right now, whether it be Siri or it be Alexa or it be the algorithms, on Netflix or Amazon or, or your supermarket shopping recommending that you buy other products. All of that is a kind of form of artificial intelligence. And it's about how will your business and your life be better off? There is no point if you are not going to be doing webinars and video courses, then there's no point you going and researching AI that can go and do short form video out of long form content. It just makes no reason to that. But if you're looking to evolve in your industry, then like anything in your industry, you will need to research what your competitors are doing and how it can be leveraged. And you should be always looking at de-risking your business, as we have. As an automation expert, I believe that a lot of what I do is a ticking time bomb when it comes to artificial intelligence, and it might not be next year or the year after. But certainly within the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of what we do when we implement people's automations is going to be automated in itself.
So where is the cutting edge? Where are you going towards?
Well, it's how do I still make money as a business? How do I still bring value? And I come back to the humanness of it. I have 30 years experience as a business owner and a marketeer. I was doing digital marketing in the early 90s before even dial-up modems in computer games. And no one can replace that experience. No one can really dive in my head and understand intuitively what I know from 30 years worth of doing it and having it. So my knowledge is my power. My knowledge is where I make my money. So how do I protect my business is that people's success, my clients' success is based on my experience and my knowledge. So how do I scale that? How do I get that out there? So whether it's info products or trading or consulting or masterminds, what do I need to do so that should my business be at risk, that it can carry on? And people should be looking all the time at what is the worst case scenario of what could happen in my business? What am I going to do if that happens? And why don't I just do that now?
You remind me of nutrition and how, as I've looked at what is the best way to eat, because there's a million different people telling you a million different ways of the best way to eat to be healthy. And I've thought about, well, okay, what if I was diagnosed with cancer tomorrow? How would I choose to eat to be optimally healthy and provide my body the optimal amount of support and healing? Well, whatever your answer is to that question, the next question is, and why don't you eat that way today, if you believe that's true? And that applies to everything. Why don't you work out the optimal path? Or why don't you write to your customers as if something bad was about to happen or had just happened?
No, absolutely. Because everyone's stuck in the everyday and the nowness and trying to keep up. They're not looking forward. They're stuck in the urgent, important box rather than the important, not urgent, which is the planning for the future and really looking down the road at where you want to be, what it's going to take to get there. We keep ourselves too busy and distracted. And of course, we're researching AI and all the different things, but it's relevant to what we're doing. It's relevant to our industry. I'm not a content marketer. Therefore, outside of my own content marketing, I don't need to know how I'm going to leverage AI to mass produce marketing materials, because that's not what I need. So it's about staying focused on what's important to you and staying in your lane, not getting distracted.
How can someone listening to this judge who actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to how to adapt their business to AI, how to de-risk their business given what's happening with AI? Because there's a lot of people out there calling themselves experts.
There's not been enough time for anyone to be an expert.
Yeah, but how can someone judge?
Like anything, you can't. It's track record. If someone is new to the party, if someone has been in this space or industry and has got a reputation, an authority, a credibility, like anything, then that's who I want to go with. Somebody that wasn't even on anyone's radar in the last 12 months and hasn't got the track record. It's not somebody that I'm going to believe really knows what they're talking about. It's like the people that become life coaches. Oh, look, I did Tony Robbins' Firewalk and I read a self-help book and now I'm a life coach. It's like, no, 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 no. I need track record. I need reputation. I need to see that you're somebody that, whether it's AI today or internet yesterday, that you've got a track record and a history of knowing what you're talking about and delivering against that and being very zeitgeist of knowing what's going on at any given time. And that it's what you're talking about relates to me.
This is part of why I started podcasting, was when I started the podcast back in 2019, that there was fairly few Keep certified partners who were podcasting. And I thought, I want to understand this area and have credibility, and having credibility without actually doing the thing doesn't really work. And then, so now I'm on episode about 200 or so. There's only, I think Wes is the only Keep certified partner with more episodes out the door than me, I think. So I'm number 2 in the world. Of 1,000 Keep certified partners, I'm number 2 in terms of episodes, not in terms of downloads necessarily. And then a couple of years back, it came to my attention that Twitter was getting really interesting, but that there was zero of the 1,000 Keep certified partners who were proficient in Twitter. And I thought, okay, I want to have credibility here. Therefore, I should go learn how to do this myself. So I started to learn. This was back before Elon bought the company. And it's changed drastically since he did. But I thought I'm going to go learn this. And then as a result of becoming proficient, I was able to grow one client's account from 1,400 to 54,000 in the course of a year and a half. But that was because I studied it myself, and growing my own account from like 400 to 1,500, the amount I learned in there and studied and all that work gave me and the credibility. And now I've credibility hopped up to, well, I grew iFix Hearts from 1,400 to 54,000, along with him publishing a book and having this great podcast. So those things are all together. And now I can say, well, actually, if you have a question of how do I use my podcast and my Twitter account to drive my key powered business to new heights, if to the extent that people know that I'm the guy who has the podcast and I'm the guy who does Twitter consulting, there's probably a good reason to talk to me. So I'm trying to have the Venn diagrams. I'll say this right here. And the next stage to add on to that is what have I actually done with AI? How am I actually using this in my companies and my client companies to go add on the next layer to that credibility?
100%. I would actually take it one step further and go, it's not about credibility. It's about being congruent. It's almost like the difference between a coach and a mentor, right? So a coach is someone that isn't necessarily proficient at the sport. You know, you can have a football coach that's never played football but knows the game strategically. But a mentor for me is somebody that has been there, done it, got the t-shirt, won the stripes, got the bruises and the broken bones to prove it. And for me, congruency is massively important. Is somebody that has been there and done it versus somebody that's read a book and academically gets it is massively different. And that pretty much, when our business really took off, was the point at which we were truly congruent with our own product.
That's an interesting book title, Congruent, Not Credible.
Yeah.
Or something around there. The idea that in the past, in a limited information environment, that credibility, the saying, I've done this before, therefore trust me, was the most important thing. But now we're competing not just with the entire world, but also with the entire world using AI tools. And more it's, do you have that? Do you have the congruence? For me, it's values alignment as well. I found in the last few years, I got to a place where I only work with clients now with who I'm aligned in my values. And that doesn't necessarily mean political values, that often ends up having a result there as well. But it's more like, are you thinking about how to make the world a better place for future generations? Because if you don't have a family, for example, I am unlikely to want to work with you. If it's not on your list, if you want to, but you don't have one yet, that's different. But if your plan is to party until you die and leave behind a big pile of gold, and that's your entire life plan, we're not in values alignment. And it doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter whether you weightlift. It doesn't matter where you live. We're not in alignment. And you should go, if you want to, you should go party until you die, if that's your plan. But I'm not doing that. And I don't want to help people whose entire purpose is hedonism. So more and more, it's like, yes, technically, I need to be able to deliver what the client wants. But at a values level, do I actually want them to win?
100%. Alignment is crucial for me. Anyone that's ever heard me pop off about we do ideal customer journeys, and you can't have an ideal customer journey without knowing who your ideal customer is. And you can't know who your ideal customer is until you know who you are, and you've done your mission, your purpose, your values. Actually, I did a workshop on it recently about how to define your values, which need to be in alignment with your personal values. Otherwise, your business isn't going to work because you're not aligned. So anyone that is in any kind of service business, I'm sure, and if not, I think they're lying, has served the wrong customer. And what comes with that is like, oh, I spotted the red flags, but I needed the money, or whatever it was, and then regretted it, because sure enough, the ones that are not aligned with you are the ones that take up the most time, pay you the least, and don't really value what you're doing because your values are not aligned. And I'm very quick to pass on that now, because the stress, the heartache, the late nights, and the messages popping off, you're never, ever going to bring someone to alignment. And that, if they're not aligned, they're not aligned. But being able to pressure test against those values and really know what it means to be aligned and to what out of alignment looks like, and not just with your clients, but the people that are working around you. If you have staff, if you have subcontractors, partners, or community around you, when you are clear on your values and being okay to say no to people that are not aligned with you. For me, that is crucial.
Beautifully put, Lisa. For folks who want to know more about what you do and want to work with someone who's a values aligned kind of person who values congruency, where should folks go to find out more about what you offer?
My website is thebusinesscatalyst.co.uk. And yeah, come book in a call, see what we're all about. Check out our blogs or come and find me on LinkedIn, Lisa Catto, Catto.
Wonderful, Lisa. Thank you for being back on Red Beard Radio.
Loved it every moment. Thank you.